Hi there, my name is Felix Beck, and you're the Rabbi from another planet. Please like, share, and subscribe, and ring that little bell so you're notified when new videos drop. And, I was going to do a video this morning about 6 or 7 episodes that apparently that are missing from Doctor Who canon, from Doctor Who archives, have apparently been located, and their negotiations are underway to bring them back. And yeah, I thought that was really an interesting story. And then this came across my desktop. I was like, oh, we're talking about this, babe. We're talking about this. Listen, the missing episode story is a good one, but I got more to talk about with Philip Morris, who is very championing a particular actor to take over Doctor Who. I'm down for that. So I guess, we'll talk about it tomorrow when I'm on a live stream. Before we get into the story, can I ask you guys, can you hit the subscribe button? That will be fan-dabby-double-dozy. Thank you very much. I'm very, very grateful to each and every one of you that subscribe. And I say this every time, but it's genuine. I'm just saying that on road. I really genuinely am grateful. Honestly, whenever I get a new subscriber, I check way too much. It's embarrassing. Whenever I get a new subscriber, I just go, woohoo! I really do. It's incredible. So yes, you can titillate and excite a rabbi. Hey, you don't get to do that so often. Now, what do you get if you subscribe? Other than titillating and exciting a rabbi, you get to enter my weekly competitions. And the competition this week is a premium numero uno Judge Dredd graphic novel, The Pit, with a terrible cover. This is really cool. It's Judge Dredd. You get into like the lives of the judges, and you get to see what it's like being a judge in Mega City 1, and it deals with Judge Dredd is sent to this underperforming sector house, and he's there for like a year. It's not one story. It's just like the setting for the stories over like a year or so as he slowly turns things around, and you get this really compelling soap opera going on with all the sci-fi Judge Dreddy action as well. Really recommend it. Well, of course I recommend it. I bought it. I bought it twice. That's how much I recommend it. I got it. I bought the individual one, and then I got this. Let me see if I can angle it up so if you can see it. You can see, you see the top on bookshelf there. It's that's the Judge Dredd Mega Collector. It's a really good artwork of basically all the good Judge Dredd stories. So I bought it twice. That's how much I liked it. All you need to do to win it is subscribe to the channel, and in the comments leave the hashtag Judge DeMarco. Judge DeMarco, which was the closest thing I think Judge Dredd had to a love interest, right? A love interest. It's Judge Demarco. But it's in the video notes. Just copy and paste it, and you put it in there, and it is fine. We'll do the drawing next week on the TARDIS Zone. So what's that? 30th of August, around there. I'm guessing. So again, please subscribe and enter. Also, by the way, check out the video notes because there's a Judge Dredd audio story for you to download. As long as I get my act together to upload it, there's a Judge Dredd audio story there. It's produced by Big Finish. Big Finish do wonderful, absolutely wonderful sci-fi audio plays. This one is out of license, out of print. You can't get it anymore. I would say if you download it, listen to it, enjoy it, firstly, good for you. But secondly, and they ever get the license back, which I doubt they would. When they ever get the license back, go ahead and buy yourself a digital copy. Or if you download it, listen to it, enjoy it, just go over there and buy yourself a $2.99, hour audio story. And you probably, listen, there's a lot to choose from. Go check my guides. I've got a lot of Big Finish guides. Fine. So let's get to this wonderful story from Screen Rant. Oh yes, Screen Rant, the font of all stupidity. So this slide just dragged me in. I'm sorry, it dragged me in. Doctor Who's biggest mistake is ignoring British racism. Firstly, it hasn't. But secondly, you talk as if racism is a thing. Racism is a thing. I challenge you to walk in the street anywhere and say, I hate, and use the N-word, right? And watch to see what people's reaction will be. It's probably not going to be good. Now, this was true of the late 80s. When I grew up in the 80s, nobody would be openly racist, which would kind of indicate it's not very tolerated. It's not something that's a big deal in British culture. It was absolutely, look, there were racist attitudes, especially when Britain was an empire, right? There was certainly racist attitudes in the past. I'll say, what, we're about 50 years past that now, and yeah, probably why racism isn't such a big thing. Yeah, like Rusty Davis, when he brought Doctor Who back, yeah, well, I think one of the reasons it worked so well, it was a very accurate reflection of the reality of living in London or living in England at the time. I just watched Love and Monsters last night, and that's the one thing that really struck me is how genuine it all was. It was very, very, very genuine. Like, yeah, these are just people, and so that's why the you had, I would say, a lot of representation, because representation is natural in a society that isn't racist. Like, yeah, Mickey was dating Rose, but it doesn't matter, right? Nobody in their right mind really cares about skin color, apart from the crazy people who live on Twitter, who think that those evil National Socialists from Germany in the 1930s have come back. They come back and they're sneaking in and they're taking over. They're silently taking over, and yeah, that's why all these elections that they're amazed haven't gone the way they thought they would have, because the Islamophobes have got inside people's head and they're controlling them because they're crazy. So firstly, Doctor Who has dealt with British racism quite extensively, actually. I would say, colonialism, and that's kind of, I would say, one of the core aspects of Doctor Who. He was, how the character has rejected his society, and because I don't think he liked the attitudes of it. It's like, the Doctor Who is essentially, I put out a video yesterday about Philip Hinchcliffe talking about Doctor Who, and essentially is the quintessential English gentleman who abhors the failings of his own society and went out to right wrongs, right? That's essentially what it is. So I think, rather than ignoring it, it's at the freaking core of it, you freaking morons. So let's read this moronic story by Thomas Bacon. Thomas Bacon, listen, bacon, fantastic breakfast meat. I wasn't always religious, and bacon is awesome. Listen, if you're Jewish, not religious, or you're just not Jewish, every time you have bacon, just go, this is awesome. Because it is. Bacon is freaking awesome. Doctor Who is finally confronting issues of racism and prejudice. And you'll notice that the viewing audience have all switched off, because other than being boring and preachy, it's because you're lecturing about racism and prejudice to people who aren't racist or prejudiced. And so it's just it's like having each episode be like an hour-long lecture about people with beards. Like, people, you don't you oppress the people with beards? I was like, what? Who cares about beards? What? You don't care about people with beards? No, nobody cares. Nobody cares about any of this stuff because you're fucking crazy. But it's still ignoring Britain's own history of racism and the civil rights movement. Excuse me. The picture you have here is from Empress of Mars, which very, very pointedly dealt with British colonialism and racism, right? Doctor Who's biggest mistake is its failure to address British racism. Really? Yeah, no, we're too busy addressing, well, up until a couple of years ago, we're too busy addressing like how wonderful people like Winston Churchill was, who said a couple of racist things. He did indeed say a few things that in today's light will be considered racist. Kind of true things though, as well, a lot of the time. It was like what was this quote? His quote about Muslims that people freak out about is essentially saying they treat anybody in Muslim countries treat non-Muslims very, very badly, which is true. And when Muslims come to non-Muslim countries, they expect to be treated very well, which is good. Listen, I think everybody should always be treated very well. I'm always up for being treated very well, people being treated very well. But yeah, that just seems to be a reasonably racist statement. It's a racist statement, but also a factual one. So I don't know what to do with that. So let's read this. Doctor Who holds the record for the longest running science fiction TV series, which is pretty much iconic, given it was originally supposed to be historical. No, it wasn't supposed to be historical. It was supposed to go between historical and science fiction stories. You moron. Current showrunner and show destroyer Chris Chibnall is certainly willing to explore the hard sci-fi. No. What hard sci-fi? I've seen every one of his episodes. They're nonsense. Boring nonsense. What? The fingers flying off Wicked Willy. One eye, the wet Willy. And going into people's ears. That's hard sci-fi? No, that's what we call bollocks, absolute bollocks. But he also intends to return Doctor Who to its educational roots and to comment on contemporary issues. Okay, when is this from? This is from 16 hours ago. Okay, like if you're writing in 2017, this article would have made a lot more sense. I understand he did that and he failed horribly, right? Because it was really boring and really preachy and really dull, and everybody stopped watching, right? Do you remember everybody stopped watching? Oh my God, I have to pull up the ratings chart. I guess I do. I got to pull up the rating chart. So if I go over here, double click this. I do this. Here we go. We're going to see the ratings chart. I'll turn it on. There you go. So this is what happened when they stunningly and brave. So the blue line is Peter Capaldi's season 10, which was the lowest rated season, but still higher than most of the original run. Lowest rated season until Jodie Whittaker arrived, and you see like this essential downward slide in the purple line, which was season 12. There was one peak in that line, the one uptick. You know what that one uptick was called? Captain Jack Harkness. Okay, so it is not doing well. It's not doing well at all. Fine. So contemporary social issues. Oh God. Doctor Who seasons 11 and 12 has certainly had a lot to say about racism and prejudice to people who aren't racist or prejudiced. This was most visible in the episodes of Rosa and Demons of the Punjab. Kinda, I guess. Honestly, I think seasons 11 and 12 have been the weakest at dealing with prejudice. Really, I go to the mutants. Go to any of the Malcolm Hughes stories, or if you want to talk about political analogies, there's Happiness Patrol. But these things put entertainment first, story first, and preaching second. Demons of Punjab and Rosa put story second, very much second. Two tremendous sci-fi historical adventures that stand amongst the best of Chibnall's era. Well, that's like saying, if you have a pile of shit, right? You have a pile of shit, and you have one piece of shit that's slightly less shitty than the other shit. Yes, it will stand. Head and shoulders above these. They were boring. I'm sorry, Rosa, the villain only made sense if you're a moron, one of these crazy morons who believe that the Western world is intrinsically racist. Because, the villain was just like, oh, I think black people are too uppity. Nobody in the right mind it walks around thinking that way, okay? Just nobody. And this goes from the future. And Demons of Punjab was just boring. Oh my God, boring aliens doing nothing. Literally doing nothing. They were just stood there. Rosa saw the Doctor and her friends encounter Rosa Parks, whose actions played a key part. Well, they didn't really encounter her that much. Key part in the American Civil Rights Movement. And you know what? That was actually kind of a fun idea. But you know what? I would have liked to see more. If you're going to bring, talk about, Civil Rights Movement, I would love to have seen, like, Martin Luther King get into an adventure, much like Churchill did. Get into an adventure with the Doctor. I think it would be tremendous, because honestly, I think Martin Luther King is probably one of the greatest Americans to ever lived. Had he lived, he would have, I think, almost certainly become president by mid-70s. I really do, genuinely do. And I think he also, if you read what he says in his writings, he would hate the black movement in America now, because other than being a black man, he was also a man. He was a very religious man. He was a reverend. He believed in God, and I think that's what drove his movement, was the essential belief in God. It was which I think resonated with the white people of the era to make desegregation happen. It was that connection to life. It was that moral connection, that moral argument, I think, that won the battle. That really did win the battle. A battle that's been won, that's been waged and won for 70 years. That's why racism isn't that important, right? You know, why doesn't Doctor Who do more stories on smallpox? Because it's not that freaking important nowadays. That's why. Rosa sawing, Rosa, blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, Teams of Punjab explores the partition of India. That's it. I don't know anything about partition of India. What I do know is I don't trust Chris Chibnall to lecture me on anything. He seems to be an utter moron. He really does. A shameful moment in British colonial history. Maybe, but I don't trust you for telling me anything. And yet, for all that's the case, one thing that is striking about Doctor Who, it has yet to confront Britain's own history of racism. So yeah, again, I was talking about this yesterday. I was on a Star Trek panel, right? And we were talking about how Star Trek has always, I think, been the most political of the sci-fi franchise, of the beloved sci-fi franchises, right? It's always been overtly political, and it's always managed to really work up until now. And I think the reason is this: like when you had Let This Be Your Last Battlefield, it was a 65, 66 episode, really dealing, with the civil rights movement, with racism. Frank Gorshin, the Riddler from Batman. He was black on one side of the face and white on the other, and then the other guy was the other way around, right? And that's why they were fighting each other. And this again, a real hot button current day political take on it. So why do I think it worked? Is because everybody writing at the time, Jim Roddenberry, everybody writing at the time. I think even also with the Next Generation and Deep Space Nine, were had enough self-awareness to know that the society they came from wasn't perfect in any way, shape, or form, but it aspired to be. It aspired to be better, and I think there was a basic love of Western values behind these. So I think the reason they want to address British racism and colonialism, because there's this essential hatred of Western values, right? And essentially, like, Western value has been a force for ill in the world, which no, it hasn't. Just again, any metric you really want to judge against. Any metric is people have prospered better under the Western world, under America, under England, than any other people in the history of our species. And it's not a technological move forward. It was, I think, the idea of like the strong helping the weak, which is a uniquely American idea, actually. It spread across the world, but it was really this uniquely American idea, which was beforehand. It was like, the strongest guy wins. The strong wins. That's basically it. That was the British way, after all. The sad truth is that Britain has struggled to come to terms with its own history of racism. No, we're fine with it. As journalist Rennie Edo-Lodge noted in her book, how do you work out that was a woman? Why I stopped talking to white people about race? Oh, that's good, because you're boring us, darling. You're boring us. Nobody likes a woke scold, really. British education on race tends to focus on William Wilberforce's role in opposing the transatlantic slave trade, and then it jumps to the American civil rights movement. Martin Luther King. Okay, there's a real push to make anybody who is proud of their country or loves their country, loves Britain, loves America, to remove that from them, to feel ashamed of it. Because again, it's come from a point of view of people who absolutely hate the Western world. They absolutely hate it. Martin Luther King, who thought America was a great aspirational place, even though he was killed, is a household name, and Rosa Parks was well known in the UK even before the events of Doctor Who season 11, episode 3. Oh, really? Really? That's incredible. So we don't have to bend to Chibnall for that. But schools aren't expected to teach the likes of Dr. Harold Moody, whose Christian faith led him to found the League of Coloured Peoples in 1931, striving to improve race relations. Okay, fine. Few have ever heard of Guy Bailey, who was rejected for a job interview over at the British Omnibus Company when the receptionist realised he was black. Yeah, again, racism happened in the past. We're about 50 years past it, minimally. I would say 50 years past it. A massive campaign followed, leading to their abandoning their discrimination policies in 1963. Yeah, okay, wow, 1963, something racist happened. I believe you. I do believe you. A day later in the United States, Martin Luther King delivered the famous "I Have a Dream" speech. By the way, which was also had been in Doctor Who before as well. Key legislation followed both the United States and the United Kingdom, and yet all this has been forgotten, meaning the UK struggles to understand the historical context of for its current issues. No, you're making it up. You're making it up. People aren't racist. The Western world isn't racist. Secret racists haven't taken over the world. Racists can't be secret about it. In fact, I've said this many times on my videos, the most overt, breathtaking racism I've ever personally witnessed in my life has been left-wing racism, left-wing anti-Semitism, as the left-wing society ran as fast as they could to embrace a deeply anti-Semitic leader of the Labour Party. And if you're somebody who disagrees with me on that, that's cool. I don't mind if you disagree with me. I invite you on my channel. We'll have a conversation. I won't berate you. We'll have a conversation. I'll explain that point of view to you in detail. I am somebody who understands anti-Semitism very well. I spent decades in the study of it. He is a racist. So that's the biggest racism I've ever seen. Is that racism going to be dealt with in Doctor Who, do you think? Is that the racism they think talking of? No, because there's one rule for people on their side, and they have another rule for other people on the other side of the argument. That's why they have no believability. That's why you got to be able to. If something's wrong, it's wrong universally. If something's right, it's right universally, not depending on how much you like the person or not. When there's no explanation of Martha's subplot in Human Nature and the Family of Blood, you ever seen Remembrance of the Daleks? Listen. Honestly, I can reel them out. Now, there are some things that were subtly told in allegory. Yes, that's true. Again, John Pertwee story, The Mutants. Yes, they dealt with racism in allegory, which was a good idea, because it actually works better. Doctor Who has rarely tackled the issue of racism and prejudice. Chibnall deserves praise for his willingness to use the time travel concept to bore us to death as an opportunity to explore social and cultural issues like this, and he has given Doctor Who a fresh degree of irrelevance, social relevance and irrelevance. Again, they're not influencing people, which is what they want to be doing. They're not influencing anybody because everybody's switched off. Because it's boring. Why is it boring? Because it's not relevant. Racism is not relevant. That's why it's boring. Again, it's like having a season-long arc about smallpox. It's over. It's over. Find something else to fight for, because this isn't it. For all that's the case, though, this approach has been counterintuitive one. Racism still largely appears to be something that happens somewhere else. Yeah, exactly. It is something that happens somewhere else. What is the numbers of people who are in the KKK currently? I think it's under 2,000. So, what is the number of people in the United States? I think it's something like close to, was it 60 million? So you have 2,000 people out of 60 million. Now, 2,000 people is a lot of people if you put them all together. But then if you mix them in with 60 million people, not so much. In fact, there's a Jewish legal concept called something is void when it's diluted down to 1/60th, right? So in Judaism, you're not allowed to eat meat and milk together. So bacon was good. A bacon cheeseburger, even better. Okay, but you're not allowed to have milk products and meat products together. So let's say you've got a bowl of stew, right? Where pot of soup, bubbling away, and a piece of cheese falls in it, right? Should make the whole thing not kosher. No, if there's the piece of cheese is small enough that it takes up less than 1/60th volume of the whole thing, then it's void. Yeah, again, void. So that's where I think racism is. I think that, yes, it exists, but it's so diluted, so low, so socially unacceptable. It's utterly irrelevant, and focusing on that makes you irrelevant. Appears to be somewhere else, whether in the United States or British dealing with India. And they're all convinced that the United States is completely racist now because of the last election, which, just crazy, I think. The Chibnall era has had little to say about Britain's historical racism with its own borders, or even the present day. Yeah, so watch another show then! For God's sake, that's particularly disappointing given the 13th Doctor has travelled with a far more diverse started crew than usual. No. And Chibnall, again, nobody was looking at colour until you crazy people came and took over the world. And for about 30 years. Racism was unimportant for about 30 years until these morons turned up. And the Chibnall era has had the show's first writer of colour. Again, none of this should matter. None of this should matter if you're saying Christian has quite a bold vision of Doctor Who. Yeah, he wants to make it crap, and wants the show to have both cultural relevance. I mean, that means having lots of preachiness, and educational edge. Has no educational edge. Then fair. What a massive failure, that being the case. The goal is a noble one, even if the execution has sometimes left a lot to be desired. Well, there we agree. There you go. We found some common ground finally, where you and I can agree, Mr. Weirdo. Given that the recent protests in the UK as well as the US, the issue of racism is clearly one where Doctor Who could fulfill its purpose. No, okay. The reason for all the protests in the about racism isn't because of racism. No, it's because the people who won the elections are not the people writing this would like them to win, right? And they want to convince that because those elections went the way they did, we are now reliving Germany in the 1930s, right? We are those evil National Socialists. No. And it was, I would say, an entirely disingenuous campaign and movement done entirely disingenuously. I really do. 100% do. Rather than counter Rosa Parks and heroes of the American Civil Rights Movement, the Doctor could cross paths with Harold Moody or Guy Bailey. Oh, make it more boring. That's a great plan. Yeah, Chips is right there behind you. Meanwhile, the theme would ironically be one that you would expect to see in every single episode, simply because the Doctor's companions would naturally be victims of prejudice in any time period. What? Okay, wait a minute. Meanwhile, the theme could ironically be the same. Ironically be one you would expect to see in every single episode, simply because the Doctor's companions would naturally be victims of prejudice in any time period they visit. No, they've landed in 1995. They landed in 1989, or anytime from 1989 to 2015, they wouldn't experience anybody talking about racism, right? That's just where it is. So how long? 89, that's what? 20, that's 26 years. They got 20, and the only people talking about racism now are you insane people. There's no way for Doctor Who to continue to ignore this issue. That is not an issue. I guess they won't. Because they want to continue to lecture to us, because that's what they really like. My name is Sheila Beck, and the Rabbi from another planet. Please like, share, and subscribe, and ring the little bell so you're notified when new videos drop.